Hey guys, I hope that y'all are doing well and not going stir crazy or feeling a little panicked about everything that's going on right now. We're going to get through all of this together. I miss you guys tremendously, each and every one of you. Would much rather be reading to you guys in class than by video, but I did want us to get behind on our book. So I'm going to start right where we left off and read just like I would in class. And I'm going to start with the book that I'm reading with Miss Goodwin's class, which is Making Bombs for Hitler. And where we last left off, Lida was working in the laundry with Inge, and she had met a Hungarian girl in the cantina with, her name was Julie. And Julie worked at the hospital. And if you remember, Luca had said something to Lida about staying away from the hospital. And so Lida was trying to get information out of Julie about what goes on in the hospital. And Julie wouldn't say anything. So now Lida has gone back to work with Inge in the laundry. The sheets were stiff in the wintry air, and they were awkward for someone as little as me to handle all by myself, but I was determined to prove that I was useful. By the time Inge had finished her sandwich, I had taken down and folded 4 of the sheets. She didn't praise me, but I could tell by her smug silence that she was pleased with how much work I could save her. My hands and feet were sore and cold by the time we got the rest of the sheets folded and brought inside. "These need ironing," she said. I followed her into a room beyond the washing area. This one had a tall steam press that reminded me of a coffin with a levered lid. She was expecting me to operate it? I would need a ladder to get to the levers. Along one wall was an oversized table, which I assumed was for folding the iron sheets. Maybe I could pull that over to the ironing press and stand on it. "While I'm ironing, you shall mend," said Inge. Oh, thank goodness. I took the stiff top sheet off the pile and spread it out on the folding table. I ran my fingertip along the frayed outer edge. "Is it the seams that you want me to mend? These are going to fall apart if they're not resewn." "That's what you're here for." Inge plugged in the huge ironing contraption to let it heat up and then stepped over to my side. "It would be more sensible to do the seams with a sewing machine," she said, "but they're all in use making new uniforms for the war." "May I begin now?" I asked her. "It takes time to do this by hand." Inge got a wicker sewing kit out of the cupboard, small spools of thread in different colors and weights, a black velvet needle cushion holding several sizes of needles, and a small thread snipper. The kit looked too domestic for an army. Without wasting any time, I pulled a chair over to the big table and sat down to my work. I threaded the narrowest needle from the cushion and knotted the end of my long white thread. I double folded the frayed edge on the first bed sheet and deftly worked in a narrow chevron stitch, using the edge of my thumbnail as a ruler. Inge stood over me and watched. "You're good at that. Tidy and artful." I nodded my head slightly in acknowledgement of her praise and kept on stitching. If I was going to prove my worth to the officer, I needed to have an impressive amount of perfect work done. The steam press had heated long enough for Inge to use, so she left me to my mending and began to tackle the folded mound of damp sheets. As she worked, she hummed a melody that must have been German. I didn't recognize it. I stayed silent. I needed to concentrate on making faultless chevron seams. When I was finished with my entire first sheet, I stood up and stretched the kinks out of my back. Inge took the sheet from me and examined each stitch. "This is fine work," she said. "It will look like new once this sheet has been ironed." She put it through the giant press, and I was pleased with the results. My stitches were just as I wanted them, tidy and even like a machine had made them, but with a pattern that no machine could do. "I guess I can trust you with this, then." She brought me the roll call officer's uniform jacket and shirt set and put it on the table in front of me. The uniform smelled faintly of tobacco and sweat. I threaded a thicker needle with sturdy gray thread and fixed the loose brass button on the jacket. That part was easy. Fixing the frayed collar without leaving the men's show was trickier, but I managed. Inge snatched the uniform from me when I had finished, held it up to the light, and carefully inspected it. "This'll do," she said. She almost smiled. "You can mend one of the iron sheets," she went on. "I'll run the edges through the press a second time to tidy them once you're finished." The iron sheets were smooth and warm and easier to work with. By the time the 6 p.m. whistle blew, I had managed to hem 2 entire sheets and a good portion of a third. I had pricked myself a few times, but hadn't gotten a single drop of blood on any of the cotton. My hands and back ached from the concentration, but I was pleased with myself. There were worse places than this warm, clean laundry. I had wanted to stay longer to finish the third sheet. I was so fearful that the officer would think I had worked too slowly. "I will tell him you're a good worker when I take back his uniform." Inge tapped her foot, waiting for me to finish. "Now go. I'll see you tomorrow." Chapter 7 is titled Bloodstains.